Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'll be talking about some IRs that I got over from mlsoundlab. Miko over there does a great job at putting together cab packs, amp packs, things like that. Today we're focusing on the VX AC30 combo and those IRs. They're the 212s. These are pre-rolla greenbacks. If you're new to amp modeling, an IR is short for impulse response, and they're basically just capturing the sound of that speaker configuration, like with certain mics, things like that. So Miko over there does a great job of putting together IRs. My personal favorite amps in the Axe Effects, because I'm a high gain kind of person, are the Friedman models. They sound great out of the box, and his Freeman, F-R-E-E-M-A-N, I'll put a link in the description. That cab pack is so good right out of the box. Slap one of those in there. My favorite is the Freedom cab in there. So obviously the video is about the VX cab packs, so there's the link in the description as well. Head over to mlsoundlabs and pick up this cab pack. I think you'll really like it if you really dig those VX amps. Before we get into it, make sure you hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about these IRs. I've got an expression pedal that's tied to the FC12 here, pedal 3. That's just how I've done it. You can attach it to any input on the FC series pedals. Alright, and I've got a drive. We've got a BB pre-drive. That's one of my favorite drives. I'm using the Class A 30-watt top boost. That's just kind of what I prefer. Remember, I'm coming over from the higher gain stuff, and so it just feels better to me. You can use any one. The Morgan amps, those are nice, a little less gain. You'll probably have to hit those harder with a drive pedal. But this one here, at its basic settings, I've got the drive up pretty high. If you find that it's a little too harsh, obviously you can take and put in some high cut. So you can hear that's fairly ambient, and this is kind of what I'm working on for this other gig that I'm doing. And on the cab, right now I'm running Miko's modern mix here from this cab pack. Something just flew by. So I find that when you're scrolling through, especially a new cab pack, and you've got just a ton of different IRs, it can be overwhelming when you're trying to figure out what goes well with each other, especially like me, where I'm not familiar with these cabs in general. I understand the mics. I've used SM57s, 58s, SM7B. I've got one in the studio here. Some of the other ones I haven't, there's a 421 in here as well. I've used those. But really experimenting with them, honestly, I'm kind of limited with the 57s, 58s, and the SM7s for experimentation. But that's why sometimes it's best to just, if you like the vendor that you're using, trust him and try some of these mixes here. My favorite is the modern. I'll go through a couple of them here. And if you really want some in-depth, dry sounds, just head over to Miko's demonstration of this cab pack, and I'll put a link in the description as well, and just visit that. That's going to cover those dry sounds, and he has some really good stuff. So I don't want to redo what he's already done. Get that. Oh, I'm trying to follow this bug. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off all the effects here. So we've just got a basic, very dry tone, and you can hear very heavy on the mid-range. Kind of that's how I kind of describe these, and they really fit well with certain genres. And obviously the guys like Queen. I mean, that's that sound. Probably a little brighter. Let's take this. And this amp, I mean, it really cleans up nice. That's kind of how I dial things in. Not too much gain, but enough there that I can roll everything back. So here it is at full. So that, you know, rolling it back cleans things up. Just, I mean, there's a lot of amps that do that, right? This guitar has a treble bleed circuit, so it kind of retains a lot of that high end when you roll back the volume. That's what I like personally. Some people don't like it. I don't want to mess with this amp too much as far as my settings, but why don't I just kind of run through some of the sounds based on this IR I'm using, which is the Modern, and roll through some of the amps. So this is I don't want that 15 watt. Let's go to 30. I can never remember what I played the time before, so it's something like that. Here's Hot. This was too much for me, so I wanted something where it was a little more tame, so I ended up here with this top boost. You know, and a lot of this for me is feel, you know, and I don't know a lot of it until I start playing it with other things, and that's how a lot of this stuff is. It might, you know, it might not be a tone for you when you first play. You might, that's pretty harsh, you know, and then you'll go and play with a band. You're like, wow, it really sticks out, and that's what this this amp does. And with these cab packs, it's great, right? Head over to Miko's demo of this. It'll be a little more in depth here. But let's just try a couple different IRs here. Let's start with this AC. And I always forget to pin this so it doesn't go away. So that AC is just a bit darker. And what you'll see here is what he does is got 5 different variations on each mic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. But they're just different brightness settings. That way when you start mixing stuff, you say, okay, this is really dark. I need something really bright to compensate. And you'll maybe take 2 different mics, 2 different positions. I'm kind of going back and forth between my personal preference, the Modern, and showing you the difference between that. So here's the Modern again. Go to bottom. A little heavier on the bass on the bottom end. Back to my Modern. British. Still a little darker. All right, let me just go through a couple of these other mics, just maybe something in the middle, and kind of you can see the difference between that. And the experimentation is where you're going to find that perfect mix for your style of playing and for what you're playing, the thing you're trying to accomplish, right? And then I'm going to go back over to the Modern mix, enable my effects, and kind of you can hear what it sounds like with some ambient stuff around. This is a SM7B, just in the middle. You can hear the different settings. A little darker. Maybe, let's see. Bass on that beat. starts to warm up there. I like that. Between the 57. All right, well, there's other mics, but I want to get in here. I want to go back to my modern. A lot of times on the more, harder rock side, I use an expression pedal attached to a delay mix, and that during a solo will give me kind of more of what I'm after to kind of widen that solo. But in this setting, I like to do a lot of swells, and I'll usually use another expression pedal, maybe attached to the mix of, in this case, probably my Plex Verb. Right now I don't have it attached there, but I could. Well, I don't know. Why don't I just do that? So I'm going to attach it to FC pedal 1, and now we've got a little bit of a range here if you look at that. And here as well, obviously in kind of the worship stuff, they're always doing the U2 stuff, the dotted eighth and or dotted quarter and a eighth, or a dotted quarter and a quarter. You can do that in a dual delay block, but I've got two different types of delay running. Probably pretty strong in the mix. Let's take that down. I would probably honestly set this maybe a little higher. Yeah, let's try that. And those higher mix settings, great for your swell kind of stuff. So I would do stuff like that, and I find myself that, some of these other, I say genres or gigs that you get where you're kind of laying back, you're not right in their face like a metal guitar player. You kind of rely on doing these little things in the background that aren't distracting, that just adding some things to it. And obviously you can get swell crazy. It's real easy to get caught up in the moment, in your in-ears especially, and just do all sorts of crazy swell stuff. Then, the nice thing is I'd kick it out, probably drop out the dotted, take the mix down a little bit. Yeah, it's really kind of up my game on using some of these different triads and taking a step back, because a lot of times you don't want you don't want an amp or something that's really just overpowering. And before this, I was using a Friedman, because I feel best with that, but I would lower the gain, but it's its own character. So you have to find something that really kind of blends with that type of music you're trying to do. And I find these amps, and there's a reason why a lot of these guys are using those, and it seems to sit well. The one thing I will tell you is, when you're doing, and of course this is demoing the IRs, not how to make patches, but think about, are you the only guitar player in the group? Do you have to cover a wide range of things? Do you have to, in that mix itself, do you have to have a big sound? So if you do, then yes, you're going to add more of this mix and have this nice big sound. But say you were with another guitar player, you got to try to complement each other. What if you had a keyboard player and he has all these ambient synth patches and everything, all of a sudden you come out with this big ambient patch? Sometimes that just gets in the way. So you just got to be kind of careful on how you dial some of this stuff in. So always think about the other band members. It's not just you, and try to play nice with each other. So this is how I'm using this. Like I said, again, I'm kind of new to the Vox style stuff, but I honestly go by feel and how it feels when I'm playing it. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button for me and hit the notification bell so you know when I put out new content. And let me know what you thought about the IRs, and go grab that cab pack.